Welcome high rollers and card sharks to the most expensive mistakes you'll ever see. We're about to witness some catastrophic bluffs and premium pocket disasters. Who am I kidding? Let's shuffle up and deal. Player 1 opens with, "Bro, I finally got a girl." A declarative opening trying to assert table presence. A bold, unverified claim. Good move. "Me too, bro." Instant mirroring. Player 2 calls the bet, claiming to have the exact same strong hand without even seeing player 1's cards. Aggressive. Good move. "Facts love you" gesture. "Where's she from?" Player 1 is probing, trying to narrow down player 2's range. Demanding specifics, trying to verify the opponent's hand. Excellent move. "She from another nation." A vague, evasive answer. Player 2 is playing coy, refusing to give up any specific card information, trying to maintain the bluff. Inaccuracy. "Which nation?" Player 1 smells a rat. They're pressing hard, trying to force player 2 to show their hand. Relentless. Excellent move. "My Amagi nation" face with tears of joy. Oh dear. Player 2 folds to the pressure, revealing their entire hand is air. A self-inflicted bust. This is not even a bluff, it's a confession of having nothing. Catastrophic blunder. "My bitch live by the sea dough." Player 1, not missing a beat after player 2's complete self-destruction, pivots to double down on their own fantastical claim, trying to salvage dignity by showing they also have nothing. Strange play. Inaccuracy. Unbelievable. Player 2, who just busted themselves, still has chips to play and is calling player 1's continued bluff. Confused move. "My Fantasia." Player 1 completes the symmetrical self-bust. Both players have now revealed they were playing with completely imaginary cards, a mutually assured destruction of credibility. Fatal mistake. Player 1 and player 2 both win, the award for most imaginary poker hand. Next, player 1 opens the betting with "Happy Anniversary." A highly aggressive out-of-pocket pre-flop raise, not a book move. Blunder. Player 2 replies, "What?" A confused check. Player 2 is trying to read player 1's bizarre bet. Good move. "Today marks 1 year since you let me put it in your butt." Player 1 immediately reveals their hand, clarifying the bizarre bet. This isn't a bluff, it's a direct, shocking value bet. Catastrophic move. Player 2 then raises the stakes with, "You couldn't remember my parents' names or my birthday, but you can remember the date of the first time we did anal." A devastating, perfectly aimed re-raise. Player 2 exposes player 1's massive leak and warped priorities. Brilliant move. "Yes." Player 1 calls the devastating re-raise with chilling conviction, showing no shame or self-awareness. This isn't a fold, it's an unapologetic, unhinged call. Player 1 is beyond repair. Fatal mistake. Player 1, despite the ethical and social blunders, wins by pure, unadulterated Gooner logic. Next, 51. "I prefer tall guys low." Player 2 opens by immediately stating their preferred board conditions and optimal hand range. A clear and honest initial read. Good move. "Are we still on then?" Player 1 ignores player 2's direct preference, attempting to force the game despite unfavorable conditions. Player 1 is betting into a known strength, a classic leak. Inaccuracy. "Yeah, but I'm kinda biased about Height's law. I'm gonna try to be open-minded though." Player 2 reiterates their strong hand, but offers a slight opening. They're playing disciplined poker, not letting player 1 off the hook easily. Good move. Player 1 tries to keep an open mind, and instead opens their mouth to insert both feet. This compliment is a self-inflicted bad beat, implying player 2 isn't super pretty. Total self-destruction. Catastrophic blunder. Next. "Hi." A standard cautious open, setting the tone with a cheeky wink. Good move. "Hello there." A friendly, enthusiastic call. Player 2 is clearly interested in seeing the flop. Good move. "Damn, 6 feet and 3 inches. You're tall." Player 2 makes a bold read on player 1's stats, but they miscalculate the combined value. A hopeful but ultimately flawed assessment. Inaccuracy. These are two separate measurements. Player 1 seizes the moment, slamming down a shocking all-in on the river. They expose player 2's misread with a high-risk, high-reward punchline. Brilliant move. "You have been unmatched." Player 2 immediately folds and leaves the table. Player 1's devastating all-in resulted in an instant bust. Devastating checkmate. Next, player 1 opens the betting with, "Fuck me if I'm wrong, but dinosaurs still exist, right?" A speculative preflop open with a trash hand. Player 1 is already on tilt, announcing their weakness. Blunder. Horrible. Player 2 immediately calls the bluff, exposing the air. Best move. Player 2 continues with terrible, a re-raise. Player 2 isn't just calling, they're asserting dominance. Excellent move. Player 2 adds awful start, the final bet in the pot. Player 2 has the nuts and is rubbing it in. Masterclass. Player 1 realizes they've been caught bluffing hard. Utter despair. Resignation. Player 1 then asks, "Can I try again?" begging for a re-deal after being busted. A desperate rebuy request. Inaccuracy. Player 2 grants the re-deal like a shark letting a fish reload. They know more chips are coming. Good move. Player 2 follows up with, "I would say it can't get much worse, but honestly I'm not sure." Player 2 sets the tone, implying player 1's previous play was abysmal. More table talk, asserting psychological dominance. Excellent move. Player 1 closes with, "Fuck me if I'm wrong, but dragons are real, right?" Player 1 repeats the exact same blundering open, just with different fantasy lore. They haven't learned anything. Catastrophic blunder. Player 1 kept bluffing with fantasy creatures. Player 2 kept calling them cold. Player 1 busted twice. Next, player 1 opens the betting with, "I'm not looking for a one-night thing either." A standard opening, establishing common ground and setting expectations. Good move. Player 1 follows up with, "Maybe 3 minutes." A bizarre, immediate underbet. Player 1 is severely devaluing their own offer or stake right out of the gate. Inaccuracy. Player 1 adds max, doubling down on the incredibly low stake. Player 1 seems determined to play for peanuts. Inaccuracy. Player 2 responds with, "I don't know, 3 minutes is a little long." Player 2 immediately senses the unusual bet and expresses skepticism, subtly trying to renegotiate or understand player 1's strategy. Best move. Player 1 replies with, "I can cut it down to 2 if you're strapped for time." Player 1 inexplicably continues to devalue their offer. They are effectively making the pot even smaller. This is a perplexing self-sabotage. Blunder. Player 2 accepts the previous higher offer, showing confidence in handling player 1's game and effectively calling player 1's previous devaluing move. Good move. Player 1 pivots sharply with, "The real question is, can you fit 6 inches?" Player 1 suddenly shoves all in with an explicit and aggressive bet. This is a massive shift in stakes and tone after repeatedly lowballing themselves. A classic Gooner bluff, hoping for a shock-and-awe victory. Inaccuracy. "I'll try my hardest." Player 2 surprisingly calls the massive, explicit all-in. They show a willingness to play the high stakes, demonstrating boldness or perhaps not fully grasping the context. A brave call. Excellent move. Player 1 closes with, "That's good because you only need to fit 3. Player 1 immediately deflates their own dramatic all-in, revealing a painfully tiny hand. Pure self-destruction. Catastrophic blunder. Player 1 opened tiny, bluffed huge, then revealed a hilariously small hand. Player 2 just watched the self-bust. Thanks for watching.